trailblazer, history maker, an institution in the United States Congress preparing to leave the Capitol after 40 years in office. The exit interview for a legend, Baltimore's Barbara Mikulski. Hello everyone, welcome to this edition of 11 TV Hill. And she first began the commute from Highlandtown to the nation's capital when Jimmy Carter was president. But now Maryland Senator Barbara Mikulski says it's time to pass the torch to a new generation. 11 News' Deborah Weiner takes a look back at her career of political firsts and feistiness.
Of all the archival footage of Barbara Mikulski, this may be the best, in part because it's one of the only times the public actually saw her let someone else lead. It is hard to remember Maryland before Barbara Mikulski.
When you read the whole budget, it really sticks it to Baltimore.
I will vote against the nomination of John Tower.
Not only isn't it a bargain, but it could be lethal. I think the excitement of serving this country and working for this state gives me so much juice. It's actually better than Botox.
The longest serving female senator in history, the petite firebrand from Highlandtown.
Fellow Democrats and sister Democrats.
She just may be the opposite of a shrinking violet. In fact, she often said, "I might be short, but I won't be overlooked." And she wasn't.
Mr. President, I'd like to put him in a stockade.
Barbara Ann Mikulski was born on July 20th, 1936. Her grandparents were immigrants from Poland. Her parents ran a grocery store. A social worker, Mikulski was first elected to Congress in 1977.
We don't have a lot of money in our campaign. We've got a lot of enthusiasm.
She is the longest-serving woman in Congress, period.
You're like the Cal Ripken of the Senate.
Yes, it's about showing up every day, doing your job. It's the Ripken way, it's the Baltimore way, it's the Barb way.
President Obama, who bestowed the Medal of Freedom upon her, called her more than just a legendary senator for the people of Maryland. He called her an institution in the United States Senate, whose legacy will span generations.
I've been very deeply honored to serve the people of Maryland and to this nation.
Senator Barb, as she is known, remembers what she calls the dark ages of the Senate.
Because I'll be in the back getting gussied up.
When she had to confer with the Senate parliamentarian before she could even wear pants.
So the whole idea of a modern career gal wearing slacks to work was, wow.
She would eventually become the dean of the women in the Senate, a mentor to women from both parties, utterly gifted at the art of making laws and influencing people, fighting for equal pay, childcare, health care, education, and women's rights. Inducted into the National Women's Hall of Fame in Seneca Falls, New York, the birthplace of the movement itself.
She really is tenacious on behalf of her constituents and people across the country.
A fellow female member of Congress said Barbara Mikulski battled the old political machine when women were often told to sit down and be quiet. But this gal from Highlandtown has not sat much over the years, and Marylanders have come to expect her to be anything but quiet. For 11 TV Hill, I'm Deborah Weiner.
Well, Senator Mikulski joined us here in the 11 TV Hill studio just a few weeks ago to share some memories of her time. And I started by asking her to describe her last few months on Capitol Hill.
Well, what we've been doing is working on our legislation, really focusing on what I've always focused on. What are the jobs today and what are the jobs tomorrow? How can we help young people with their college affordability? When we will be going back to Congress after the election for the lame duck session. And we want to be sure, we get some things done. One will be the actual budget, the money in the federal checkbook. Sure. And there's important things there for Maryland. So I've got my eye on maybe turning the page, but right now I'm reading the fine print to make sure we get our fair share.
Yeah, there's no slowing down. Yeah. We heard so much about how you've inspired other lawmakers. People always point to you about how you've made them better. We didn't hear much about what inspired you. We knew you're a social worker, but someone lit the fire.
Well, I grew up in Baltimore over in the Highlandtown neighborhood, affectionately called Brewers Hill, and it was really the nuns who taught me, you know, to show that virtue really, you could be a woman and you could be smart and you could get things done. And then the other was Madame Curie. She was a Polish woman at the turn of the century who went to Paris for her degree, married a Frenchman. Well, she was the one, she and her husband discovered radium. And when I saw a movie about her, I was so inspired. I wanted to go to college, I wanted to go to science, and I wanted to devote my life to mankind.
Yeah, I remember going to tour City Hall. I won't tell you what year it was, but you were no longer working there. And one of the stops was a spittoon under your old desk. You turned into a flower pot. Was that putting the boys club on notice? Was that letting them know you've arrived?
Absolutely. When I was elected to the Baltimore City Council, one of the things was because we were fighting the highway that was going to bulldoze the European ethnic neighborhoods of East Baltimore and the first black home ownership neighborhood, Rosemont, in West Baltimore. So we fought the highway. I mean, I put together a volunteer group, beat the political machine, and when I came to City Council, took my oath, you had to pledge to the flag, which I was happy to do. We sat down and I said, others use this as a spittoon. It was from another day and a set of guys. This is the new day and the new Baltimore, and we're going to make sure we grow. And so that spittoon, I put a flower in it, and to this day, it looks a little tired.
It's still there. Here, I'll read you some words that people have used to describe you. No fuss, irascible, tough. The president once said, you don't want to be on the wrong side of Barbara Mikulski. How necessary was that toughness, do you think, to get to this point today?
Well, you know, they say that about women, you know, that if, and they said that about our beloved friend, Helen Bentley. I think when a woman is outspoken, stands up, won't shut up, and is insistent and persistent, well, then we're viewed as tough. I like to just think that I'm just a sweet lady trying to do good.
I'm gonna stick with that. I'm not gonna, you're tough. I'm not gonna get you upset.
I think that's good.
I'll be fair though. There are others who look at you as a mentor and an advocate, and you spend a lot of your own time as new Congress members came in with them, opening the doors for them. Why was that so important to take time out to?
Well, you know,
welcome
when
them?
you become a United States Senator, there's no operations manual that tells you what to do. I had great help from Senator Paul Sarbanes, my senior senator. What a champion he is for the people, and he was certainly a champion to help me get started. But when more women came to the United States Senate, I kept notes on how to be successful. So I started my famous power workshops, then worked with a wonderful Republican senator from Texas, Kay Bailey Hutchinson, and we started these famous dinners where we talk about strategy, how we can get things done, and guess what? A zone of civility.
How about
a
that?
zone of civility. So even though we might be duking it out on the floor, offering an amendment, doing a debate, pushing for our viewpoint or our goal, at the end of the day needs to be owner, and we have to be able to get along. One of the disturbing things to me about politics today is how prickly it has become. Because I've worked in my college to have this zone of civility, because you can be a fighter, but you don't have to be nasty about it.
Talk to me about today's politics and the race for president in specific. I mean, we talk about emails, and we talk about taxes, and we talk about a whole lot of things. And sometimes I feel like the electorate just wants to know how someone's going to lead even more. Has that been lost?
Well, it certainly has, and with all due respect to the media, I think the 24-hour news cycle exaggerates, and it exaggerates the small things. It doesn't talk about the big things. And you know, it's big, it's not so big. You know, we and the women of the Senate, we laugh and say, we work on the macro issues, national security, the security of our entitlements to make sure Social Security's there when you need it, that Medicare lets you pick the doctor that you need, not the doctor that government will tell you. But we work on the macaroni and cheese issues. Really, how equal pay for equal work for women, how are we going to afford college? And all of the din and all of the salaciousness. What we have is that I don't think people have heard the issues. We in Maryland are an innovation economy. Our future depends on innovation, whether it's traditional industries or new industries.
Yeah.
A traditional industry will be like the railroad industry, but because of new technology, we could fix that Howard Street tunnel cheaper, faster, less disruption to the community, and create lots of new jobs. And so this is the way we need to think. And that's what I think people wanted in the campaign. They wanted inspiration, they wanted practical and affordable solutions, and they wanted to know, are their lives going to be better? But most of all, are their lives, their kids going to be better?
Yeah.
And I would say this campaign gets an F.
Yeah. Well, tell you what, we'll get back to that campaign in a second. You mentioned some specific.
Yeah, I mean, just the coverage of the nature of the campaign, not the personalities.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about Baltimore, because you were very specific. You mentioned the Howard Street tunnel and some other things. What's so special about Baltimore? Even though you're in D.C. and you're talking about some very big issues, for you, I still hear the Highlandtown in your voice, and I think that's a very.
I'm Highlandtown. I am definitely Highlandtown.
There's still something in there. Yeah?
Yes. And Brewers Hill, you
Little
know,
bit, yeah.
I know the good spots, but I think what's so great about Baltimore is the way it continually tries to reinvent itself for the new day and the new day. I grew up in Highlandtown. My dad owned a small neighborhood grocery store, and it's he and my mother that inspired me. They would open up that store every morning and say, "Good morning, can I help you?" Nice. And in that neighborhood, people used to work at the breweries. They used to work at Bethlehem Seal. Now, I was in East Baltimore, did early voting at the Highlandtown Library, now called the Southeast Anchor Library. And you could see how the community has evolved. It has energy, it has vitality. And when you're in that library, we have a large Latino community, large gentry community. One side of there's somebody, a young mother working on her GED, and there's another mother working on her PhD, and their kids are up there learning to read with each other. This is what we want. Baltimore has a new look, but it has the old way of neighbor helping neighbor, and each neighborhood has to look to the future. What's not right is there's been unevenness in the way the neighborhoods have flourished. If you've been close to the water, there are jobs there, there's opportunity there. We've got to go deeper into the other neighborhoods, and that's what we would have liked to have heard in the campaign. What are we going to do to help cities that doesn't set us back financially or create more bureaucracy? And I think what we're going to do to help cities, along with criminal justice reform, are going to be the two big issues for the new president.